Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I'm a senior partner here at Action Coach in Central Texas. Today, I'm sitting down with Kyle Doran, who is the founder and CEO of the Net VR. Excited to be jumping in, talking about business, about a whole bunch of different things when it comes to your business specifically, entrepreneurship, and just the crazy journey of what entrepreneurship feels like, and all of that kind of stuff. So, Kyle, first and foremost, thank you for taking the time. Excited to have you here. Why don't we just start with a little bit of background? You give us the 10,000 foot view of who you are, and tell us how this the Net VR came to be.
Who I am. I'm a gamer. I'm a lifelong gamer and trying to bring gaming into like the existence of everything. I mean, gamers have probably pushed technology faster than anybody else. This AI craze came from graphics cards. It's different processing power, right? So nobody credited gamers us, requiring a better 3D graphics that then turned into AI. So, I mean, I'm a gamer at heart. I enjoy the virtual space. We're having a virtual meeting right now, and I enjoy the space. So that's me at a high level. And then yeah, starting my business. I'm doing the entrepreneur thing in the gaming space. Gaming is now relevant. So FaZe clans, you've got gamers everywhere. Making waves. You've got all the content creators and they're not called celebrities anymore. They're called influencers. Came from the gaming space, or gaming should have been credited more for the influencer market, but that's the space that I'm in, and it's been a super fun journey so far.
Very cool. Well, I'm excited to kind of dive into the journey a little bit. But before we kind of make that shift, tell us a little bit more about the Net VR. What does the business do? Kind of give us the for those that haven't heard of it before, that maybe this industry is a little bit newer to them. Give us kind of the the I don't know, the nitty gritty of what is it that your business does.
So right now we're an extension for Twitch. We basically use video game platforms or 3D video game platforms, and we connect them to Twitch is specifically what we do. So right now we're an extension, but it just allows a more social, engaging with other viewers and other content creators. Right now, a lot of us are consuming content through the internet on our cell phones, but we're doing it alone. This allows an additional space for you to be able to hang out with your friends or hang out with other people. So that way you guys can engage uh, in content, not alone, but with other people. So you guys are both getting to see the content together and being able to do things in a virtual space more humanly, more like real reality, right? We all go to the movies. We have 10 people, we're all sitting here watching the movie together, but we're together. So this allows you to have that togetherness be reattached to your conscious thinking.
Very cool. I absolutely love that, and I'm sure we can get super deep on some of that aspect. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit more about kind of this journey. So you've been in gaming for a long time, always have kind of done that. There's even I've seen over the last 10 years or so, like the explosion of gaming coming into kind of the mainstream. I think the live streaming, things like that, really started to take off, kind of brought it into the mainstream here. So maybe kind of talk to us through kind of what was your uh, how did you get into gaming as it sits today? Did you have like a game or two that like was your game that you went to like all the time? Give us a little bit more kind of background of that piece.
So yeah, so my founder's journey, college, all the way up until college, I was 100% on video games, like, 40 hours a week, almost, right? We had the ability to do that during college where we could sit on a console and play video games. After college, I stopped. I said, hey, I got to go get into the real world. And that was an interesting time. I got to learn a lot about kind of corporate America, understanding, hey, what it's like to, just work. And then about 7 years ago, I had kind of a family, a big life change, big significant life change. And I had a friend that got me, he gave me his old PC, and I got back in it, and not having played a video game for like 10 years. I got into first person shooters again. This first person perspective where you're running around. It's I like to use like paintball as an example. We're kind of playing paintball where you're talking with other people. Um, And then I was like, I got to do something in this space. And then as I explored it more and more and more, I saw, content creators on Twitch were going big at the time. So the video game I was playing, a content creator by the name of Shroud was he went from little guy where nobody knew him, 25. He started and played some tournaments and got on Twitch and then started making millions. Like, the tournaments in gaming, they're a couple $100s, a couple $1,000s. It costs more to get to the tournament than the tournament reward gives you. But as soon as you started streaming on Twitch, and Twitch is roughly 10 years old now almost, but it didn't become really big and it didn't become sustainable. But now that's become sustainable, people are able to they've turned into influencers and they're making a lot of money on the content they're doing. They're playing video games and other people, there's enough people to watch the content that it becomes sustainable for these gamers. And so that's what I started doing 7 years ago. I started playing video games and I said, okay, how can I help this space? And how can I, do it personally and help the space as well as me personally be able to make it in this space and make a living. And that's where I'm at for my founder's journey. I found out through the time I'm not a good content creator myself, but I'm able to build experiences that allow people to connect. And that's really what, if you look at our product, is really what it's about. It's about creating spaces for people to connect in a more real kind of manner, but still having, in this virtual experience.
That's so cool. And I know this question probably isn't like super relevant to, the business today, but I've got to ask just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Do you recall like what was the first either gaming system or console that you were on, or was it a PC? Like what, if you go all the way back to the very beginning, like what did that look like for you? Because I know that I think back in just like my history and the gaming systems that were available, 20 years ago. My kids don't even know what they are. So yeah, what was that for you?
It was when I was 6 years old. I remember this. My parents bought a Nintendo, like a Nintendo, and they kept it in their room. So they didn't want my brother and I to use it. But I would sneak in there and I would play Duck Hunt with the little. I had the thing with guns, like little cap guns and stuff. We'd run around, but the Duck Hunt gun, I got in there and stuck in there, and I remember I got caught one time. I was playing Duck Hunt. My dad was like, "What are you doing in here?" It was pretty fun. It was, but yeah, that was kind of my gaming experience. I was just always attracted, to TV and the console. It was a console really that launched, because consoles were actually ahead of computers, kind of in a sense they were, um, uh, but in that gaming type of space.
Oh man, I love it. I think for me it was it was on the computer first, and it was like simple things like the Sims was like a big one that we played on our shared computer in the house, and that graduated to the N64, and finally we got I think a PS2 is like the next kind of bigger system that we got. And yeah, it's fun because my son's sitting around and he's like, I want to get a PS5. I'm like, dude, you don't even know, like when I was your age, I don't even think I was allowed to have, a gaming system at that point.
Yeah, but it's just to speak to that. I mean, it's interesting where, hey, we weren't even allowed to have those gaming systems. Through our generation, it really speaks volumes to kind of like this niche where, hey, like gaming's not accepted really. In if the older you are, you're almost like anti-gaming, but you have the younger generations that they're now growing up with it. I mean, if they get a cell phone, it's not, 9 numbers anymore. It's a flat screen that they're so I mean they're grown into it, or they're like born into it. So then it gets real confusing when you're like, hey, stop the screen time. You're like, well, what else am I supposed to do? I can't use my phone now. Like,
Yeah.
but it
Well,
speaks volumes to our industry.
yeah, yeah, and that's where it gets kind of exciting when we dive a little bit deeper into the business that you're building, right? I mean, if I'm understanding correctly, you're really starting to help create real like human community throughout the virtual world when it comes to gaming, things like that. Um, so D- Tell us maybe a little bit more about kind of where that's at today. Who is this being built for today? Let's start with that. Like if I'm in the audience, I'm watching this later on. How would I know that I'd be a really good fit to come check out the business, or just check out the extension, all that kind of stuff right now? Or I might know somebody in my network that I say, hey, you got to go check out the Net VR.
So at Twitch, if you live stream on Twitch, We haven't got to YouTube yet, but specifically we target gamers. That's our initial product. So if you're streaming on Twitch or you watch Twitch, come talk with us. Those are our primary customers. If you want to get or you want to support those influencers, you want to support them, also please come talk to us. We can help you out as well. But we're really focused on allowing content creators on Twitch or people that are streaming on Twitch to get a new engagement style that they haven't really gotten before. It's really difficult to, and it's not how we, you and I are communicating right now live. We're able to talk. We're able to have a conscious conversation. As soon as you type something, that's in the past, right? So you're going to go back and read something. You lose so much context about the conversation, right? You can pull my words out and use them as different context around it and make me sound incorrect or wrong or bad when the meaning of it when it was presented during the live conversation was completely different. Right. So this allows you to be able to have more live conversations with people inside of your own, kind of niche communities, right? So, okay, you can't use my product probably because okay, you're not in the Twitch community, and that's awesome. We'll get to you later. But we're able to, kind of copy our model that we're building inside of these kind of like gaming communities first. We're able to bring them out to, other live communities. You can change this. You can, Reddit isn't a live community at this point, but that Reddit community is there and hey, now they can have this kind of maybe potential live atmosphere where people can now communicate live, and then they can actually have a live conversation instead of just a banter spat back and forth versus just typing something.
Mm. So what does the competitive landscape look like out there? I know that there's likely some big names out there that are also developing some cool tech and maybe doing something similar. Like what are you seeing out there? How do you navigate the waters with regards to potential competitors and maybe kind of talk through that a little bit.
Our competitor landscape's tough because when you think of VR, you're going to think of a head-mounted display, and we haven't actually talked about that before. We're rechanging the landscape. So right now, big competitors are moving away from the virtual reality terminology. They're using, metaverse or spatial computing. Those are new terms that are kind of in our space. But really, when you bridge it or break it down to the community that uses the 3D virtual space the most, it's gamers predominantly, and then VR. We are attached to VR, so VR chat is probably our biggest competitor. They allow social connections, and the community is very niche. I wouldn't run into it if you're not ready for a shock. But Meta's trying to do it too. They have Horizons. They have the virtual business meetings. Those are the same spaces that we're targeting. 3 to 5 years down the road. But right now we're really, again, we're going back to just targeting the gamers on Twitch. And so Twitch isn't necessarily a competitor because we're just an extension to Twitch, but we're an extension, and there's nobody really doing the same thing in our space that we're doing right now. You have lookalikes or copycats that are all trying to do this 3D immersive. They're trying to do it for conferences. They're trying to do it but ours is very, very attached to a specific problem and a specific niche that they want this product.
So how do you get in front of your target market, knowing that it is, fairly niche at this point, and talk to me a little bit about what does marketing look like today? Kind of what's the philosophy on how you get the word out to the folks that can leverage your system the best today?
Our our marketing is tough. So video gaming industry. So everyone. So right now, the big thing in the video game world or the video game community is Pal World. It's a brand new video game. It was a copycat of uh, Pokemon, like the biggest, latest, greatest video game, and they've had this huge, massive. They went from nothing to massive in about 3 weeks, and then lost 2/3 of their viewers within a month time frame. So there's just this massive up, massive down. The video game marketing community is very tough. It's very difficult because gamers have been given free stuff forever, right? They've been given free video games. We don't pay $60 for a video game anymore. Like, I'm sure you remember having to save up your allowance to buy that, Forza or Gran Turismo or whatever video game. They don't have to do that anymore. They just get the video game handed to them. So marketing is very interesting in the gaming space. It doesn't translate very well over to like general marketing where, hey, okay, I spent a marketing budget for, to sell this consumer good. Video game doesn't get to do that anymore. There's so much expenses on the back end that it's very challenging. You can go viral almost instantaneously in the influencer space. So for us, we've actually pulled back and kind of stayed away from marketing. We've niched and not talked directly with our gamers, but we've talked. We have to sit down and have a 30-minute conversation about what it is that it's going to happen, what it's going to do. It's not just an advertisement that you can put on Facebook. Yeah, we can do that later, but that's not something because we can't handle the traffic. If we pull in the traffic, we lose that hype or that huge hype cycle that comes with gaming. So marketing is very challenging in the gaming space, and it's especially because for us, we've done a bunch of research. How are you supposed to market? What are you supposed to do? It doesn't translate very much. It translates into like a massive boom and a massive bust, which a lot of people are like, oh, well, sorry, that didn't work that way. Well, we've known and we've seen it enough. We're deep enough in the gaming space. We've seen the booms and busts, and we know how to handle that going forward. We've pulled back on it, so it's a challenge. It's a very unique challenge.
I gotcha. So do you have a target or because you mentioned you don't want to have like too much traffic, all that kind of stuff. Is there a focus on like ideally we have this much traffic or this many users kind of come on any given month, that type of thing? Is that kind of mapped out for you then?
Yeah. So we have like creator codes that can start pulling in people. We can kind of limit creator codes. So we have gauges and implementation like to go. The key thing for us is building it. So we've been stuck at building the application forever. Our entire, I don't know if we'll get into it, but our entire organization's it's a volunteer organization. So it's all, we're actually pulling developers from the big gaming companies that are currently laying off thousands of developer jobs. So we're able to keep their skills sharp, but we don't have the resources to turn into professional jobs. However, we're getting sniped from development studios for our developers right now, which granted, I love and appreciate that our developers are able to kind of jump ahead of other developers that aren't developing anything right now. So they're kind of just sitting on the couch, not doing anything. Take 10 hours of work for people that want to join and kind of get in and, keep their hands useful in the development space. So that's kind of how we're operating right now is we're really stuck at building the application. Yeah, so it's tough because we can't quite get to marketing. Yeah, we've got roadmaps and things we believe will work, but really, I mean, we've been out selling ice to Eskimos and they want it, but we don't have the ice to actually give them.
I gotcha. So what is the biggest like roadblock holding back the growth of developing it out and getting the application ready to go?
People's time. And so you can donate their time or you can pay for their time, right? So that's where funding comes very, very crucial. We're unknown founders, which but we've been very successful as unknown founders. But getting into that secondary network has been key, and it's been one of our biggest struggles. The secondary network or the funding networks that are around. Yeah, that's been our our biggest kind of struggle. It's hey, we want to get here, but hey, what else can you do? And like how do you go around it without asking directly for funding? When really like a lot of coaches that we come to are like, yeah, actually you hear a lot of people that haven't done XYZ, but you guys have already kind of done it. You literally actually just need funding to execute what it is that you guys are doing.
Got it. So have you raised money at all, or is it then completely, away from funding and just focused on kind of building and really leveraging as much time as possible before the financial resources come in?
It's been 100% bootstrapped. So I put in, my own my 10 years of corporate kind of savings and stuff. We've used that to maintain our time going forward. And now we pull in volunteer coders. Our team's 20 individuals are working for the project right now. That's where we're at.
I gotcha. Um, Very cool. So when you look at kind of this journey so far, then you moved from corporate world, you moved further into this realm, starting to build it. There any lessons that kind of pop up in your mind in terms of like it has helped you become kind of the business leader that you are today, that has kind of put you on the path of where the business is at this moment? Anything that kind of stands out to you in terms of kind of lessons learned along the way?
Networking's crucial. The one big thing that I've noticed, I had a great foundation in the corporate structures. It really kind of showed you what it takes to build a corporation or to build a large organization. Uh, Being a participant, you can learn a lot. So I think that set me for a good foundation to be a decent founder. Like they corporations these days pay for a lot of training, and I went to a lot of the extra training groups that they put on in leadership specifically, because that was my path. I always got stuck at the middle management position because I couldn't manage up. I could manage down really well, but that set me on kind of where I'm at now. Instead of trying to fight through the middle management to get to that kind of corporate ladder, I just said, hey, I'm just gonna slap a C position on my name and call myself a CEO, which was interesting. I don't feel like I deserve the title, but as a founder, it goes hand in hand. Like if that is the position that you're taking. So, um, but going forward, once you get to the next level in C positions, you need to network. And we started out our company in Oregon. That's where I'm from. That was not a great place to network, specifically around the product that I was building and making. And I think that was one of the big challenges and things that I look back now and it's, hey, moving to the right place where your product will exist. So if I wanted to start a um, food or beverage consumer good in Portland, where I was from, that would have been great if I wanted to follow that path. But if I wanted to start in gaming, I really needed to move to one of the, Seattle up north or south down to San Francisco or even further down to LA or Miami, where the gaming and this kind of entertainment industry is able to thrive and get the correct resources that you need. If you're in not a place with good resources and you're begging for them, you're almost wasting your time being in that area and asking for funding or asking for developers or asking for things. You need to get to the right area and get to the right network that can actually help your product. And I think that geography thing was very crucial that I wish I had known 4 years ago that I didn't know now.
Oh, that's a really good lesson, and really cool to kind of hear that articulated. So beyond lessons, and now let's just forecast forward for the next 3 to 5 years. What's kind of the vision for the future? What do you see actually happening in the next 3 to 5 years based on where you're at today? And what is that vision, or what are some of those goals look like?
So right now, building our extensions, the number one goal. That is right now what we're working on. We're getting really close. We basically took our old prototype, which was built, tested it in the market, had a really good success, to building the minimum viable product, which that's the product that generates revenue. And we're trying to generate at a consumer level. I think that's crucial. If you look at any of the top FANG companies, they all started at a consumer level and then grew to business, right? They didn't start with business to business type models. So if we can really get to that consumer level and get the application ready for consumers, then we'll be able to just kind of start pivoting away from just Twitch and gamers to the broader market and allow people to kind of connect again better. Like being able to, hey, how many times are you like, hey, watch this YouTube video on my phone? Instead just being able to just send the YouTube video over to their phone so that way they can see it through their phone. Like there's two screens right there. Why then we can have a conscious, conversation about the YouTube video that we're both watching at the same time. But having that interconnectivity is there. Like the technology is there. It's just getting the right applications to be able to do to be able to have that connectivity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see kind of your role within the business shifting and changing as that starts to come to fruition?
Could you elaborate on that one a little bit? Like by
like as you look at where the business is going the next 3 to 5 years, kind of the call it the day-to-day roles that you play today, do you see yourself still doing a lot of the same stuff, or does that evolve over time?
I think I would be doing the same stuff. That's a great question. I think my role. So you're the a CEO or a founder's role is to execute on the vision of the company. And I believe our visions. We've talked with a lot of people about our vision that are like, man, that is really interesting. I want to see. I want to actually see it now. And that's tough because we haven't built the product, right? We're stuck at this building position. But a lot of people really enjoy the conversation or the vision of so for us, I guess teaching, I guess maybe going more from and explaining like, hey, do XYZ to more of the visionary, hey, connect with people again, like connect live with people. So I don't know if that turns into like kind of the influencer type thing, which your CEO role is your front facing visionary, right? Any of the top companies, your CEO role is that visionary, your operating officer, your number two goes inside. So I think right now as a CEO, when you're a founder, you kind of have to play both sides. I guess I would transition more into being, hey, this is our vision. This is what we're trying to do. That we're trying to connect people live. We're trying to connect people in this 3D space. We're trying to connect them in software like that. But teaching people how to do that, it would be more kind of my role, I guess.
Awesome. Well, I know we've covered a like ton of ground, and I think before we officially started all that kind of stuff I mentioned, we could probably sit here for a couple hours and like really dive deep. But I do want to be respectful of the time that we have here today, and I've got a few like rapid fire questions. I love to just kind of bring out, ideally get some, we'll call them wisdom nuggets out there for the audience, kind of some key takeaways. So when you look at your journey, kind of from starting the net VR to everything kind of that came before it, but when you look for you, what do you believe is kind of your, say, key to success?
It's a great question. I think I wrote this down and now I'm like trying to think of what I wrote down versus what I want to say. That's always interesting. Uh, but key to success is just determination and discipline. Uh, Being disciplined, I think is one of the what do they call those? Or the golden rule? Not the golden rule. Trying to think of where I'm trying to. Can't remember. Oh, I'm losing my train of thought. Discipline is the number is the number one thing.
Beautiful. How about advice? If you could give just like one piece of advice for other entrepreneurs out there, just one to leave them with, and sure you've got hundreds that you've learned along the way, but if you could just leave them with just one piece of advice, what would you want to leave them with?
The golden rule: treat others like you want to be treated. I think it's the best the best way to go forward.
That's a good one. Book recommendation, and I like to frame this one up as if you are a reader, what's either a current book you're reading or something that you would recommend. If you're not much of a reader, like content that you consume, podcasts, videos, things like that that you would recommend to the audience.
So I'm not much of a book reader. I enjoy movies because I can get of the content or kind of the grasp of the content much faster in an hour and a half than a book that takes a day to read. But I did read Snow Crash. So Facebook came out with Metaverse. So I needed to do some research on what the metaverse terminology was. And Snow Crash by Neal Stephenson is the book where the terminology came from. So that was the last book that I got to read, which was it was actually a really good book. I listened to it on book on tape. But it was a book. But I read or watch a lot of kind of utopian movies that kind of delve around this virtual type of uh utopia type of thing. So your Black Mirror episodes are always, kind of maybe the scary version of it. But the Free Guy probably is the best one I can think of right now for people to go and watch. It's a good comedy with Ryan Reynolds.
That is a good one. I haven't seen that one in a while. I'm gonna have to put that one back on my rewatch list. All right, one more rapid fire, then we'll kind of shift into the wrap up questions here. But this one's just kind of fun. If you could choose just one area in your business, and that's the key, you only get to choose one spot, and you could take a little bit of magic dust and sprinkle it all over that one spot, and wake up tomorrow, it's like 10 times better than it is today. Where would you choose to put that magic dust?
It's that funding one. I don't have the magic to be able to do it. A lot of advisors, again, yeah, have told us Honestly, I can't come up with something better right now. Like you really need to get that product out. You could say it both ways. I always hate it, and I always go to the other way. Like, okay, I just need developers. Okay, well, how do you get developers? Well, you go hire them. Okay, we've got them. So, uh, really providing food for the developers that we currently have would be really nice.
I love that. So for those that are in the audience that really enjoyed this conversation, that want to connect with you, follow you, that sort of thing, want to learn more about the Net VR, want to go test it out for themselves, any of that type of stuff, where can we advise them to go for more information?
Thenetvr.com is our website. Our primary, if you want to get on the insides, our Discord is kind of the number one way to kind of get the inside feed on what it is and when our test schedules are coming out. We're getting close. Hopefully next month we'll potentially have kind of a rough draft build of the new minimum viable product out. And then LinkedIn is the best one if you want to just connect with me and have a conversation directly with me.
Beautiful. I'll make sure to put all of that in the video description below. So for those that are watching, make sure you take a moment, go click all the links, go check it all out. At minimum, go check, click on LinkedIn, check out Kyle's profile and send him a quick note saying, "Hey, saw you on the Business Spotlight. Love the conversation." It's always fun to just connect other entrepreneurs and business owners. So please take a moment to go do that. But Kyle, as we finish up, I have one question I always like to end these conversations, these discussions on, and that is simply, what is most inspiring to you today?
The people that are doing their own thing, the individuals that are out there trying to create their own communities and positive communities. That are just, hey, I don't have much, but here's a community of people that can get together and have a decent conversation, and a compromising conversation. I think is some of the most inspiring things. The communities that are getting built is awesome to watch. See it specifically in Twitch all the time, and I love seeing it. You see, I get to go to TwitchCon once a year, and I see 60 people running around that don't get to see each other in real life, but they look like lifelong friends. They play video games, and they're all spread all across the country. They come together one time for a conference, and they get to hang out with each other, and it's awesome to watch and see. It's so much energy and so much passion. They're some of the best conferences that I get to go to as well.
So cool. Well, Kyle, I want to say thank you again for taking the time. This has been such a pleasure. Just really kind of peeling back a little bit, getting really just some surface level stuff, some little bit deeper, but hopefully this will encourage additional conversations, things like that from the audience. So thank you so much for being here. It's been a genuine pleasure.
Thanks for having me on the Business Spotlight.